Grace, you collapsed again? Unbelievable. Answer my calls, Grace. What kind of wife are you? Eric's voice blares through the phone, cutting through the ambulance sirens. I'm on my way to the hospital. I could lose the baby, I managed to say, holding back tears. The paramedics work around me, their faces focused and grim. Eric snorts on the other end. Well, we're here starving because you can't make dinner. Now you're relaxing in a hospital? Get it together. My throat tightens as I try to steady my breath. A paramedic looks at me with concern. You should focus on staying calm, ma'am. It's important for the baby. I nod, clenching my phone. Eric, I'm doing my best. This isn't about dinner. It's our child. His response is a heavy, frustrated sigh. Your best, huh? Seems like your best is just never enough. I hang up, unable to listen anymore. My heart pounds painfully in my chest, and not just from the physical strain. The paramedic shakes his head subtly. We'll be at the hospital soon. Just keep breathing. As I lie there, the thoughts of Eric's constant criticism and indifference replay in my mind like an old scratched record. Every harsh word echoes louder in the cold, confined space of the ambulance. Upon arrival at the hospital, I'm quickly wheeled into the maternity ward. Nurses move with practiced efficiency, and I catch snippets of diagnosis and concern. My OB/GYN, Dr. Collins, arrives shortly after. Grace, hang in there, she says with a calm yet urgent tone. We're going to do everything we can to make sure both you and the baby are okay. I nod, feeling a tear slip down my cheek. Thank you, Dr. Collins. Hours pass, marked by the beeping of monitors and the quiet hum of hospital activity. It feels surreal, a stark contrast to the chaos of my home life. Dr. Collins updates me regularly, her calm demeanor a lifeline amidst the storm within me. Eventually, the tension eases. The baby is stable for now, she says, offering a reassuring smile, but you need to avoid stress. It's crucial. I nod weakly, knowing how impossible that request feels with Eric at home. I'll try, Doctor. The room grows silent once Dr. Collins leaves, except for the soft ticking of a nearby clock. I stare at it, counting the seconds, trying to slow my racing thoughts. I need to find a way out of this. My phone buzzes again, breaking the brief peace. It's a message from Eric. Don't expect me to come. Sort yourself out. I toss the phone aside, feeling a surge of something I haven't in weeks. Anger. What kind of person can't even show up when their wife is in the hospital, risking everything for their unborn child? That anger simmers, providing a strange comfort. Maybe it's time I started thinking about what I need, what the baby needs. Not just what Eric wants. This realization hits me like a wave, both terrifying and liberating. The door creaks open, and a nurse enters with a tray of food. Time to eat, Grace. You need your strength. I look at her, nodding. I'm not sure what my next steps will be, but one thing is clear. I need to get stronger. Strong enough to stand up for myself and my baby. Strong enough to face whatever comes next, even if that means facing Eric. I take the first bite, letting the warmth of the food seep into my bones. It's a small step, a simple action, but it feels like the beginning of something bigger, something necessary. For now, I focus on eating and breathing. The fight can wait until tomorrow. The fluorescent lights flickered above me, mimicking the flicker of emotions I felt inside. Leaning against the stark white hospital sheets, I closed my eyes, recalling a time when life seemed simpler. 2 years ago, I was one of the top marketing executives at my firm. I thrived on the rush of meetings, pitches, and late-night brainstorms. It was during one of these hectic days when I first met Eric. He wasn't always this way. Back then, he was charming and attentive, surprising me with coffee during those long nights, showering me with thoughtful gifts and making me laugh. The memory felt distant now, almost like a dream. Losing myself in work, I hadn't seen the warning signs when our whirlwind romance led to a rushed marriage. Within a year, I was pregnant, and it became clear that my role would need to change. Eric gently suggested that I become a stay-at-home wife. It's only until the baby arrives, he assured me, his arm around my shoulder. I agreed, believing him, and at the same time, believing in us. But as the months passed, the dynamic shifted. Eric's patience grew thinner, and his demands became relentless. This once affectionate man turned into someone colder, more critical with each passing day. Nurse, I called, needing a voice to break my chain of thoughts. Can I get some water? My voice sounded weaker than I expected. Of course, Mrs. Green, the nurse responded, smiling kindly. Thank you, I murmured. As simple as the gesture was, it reminded me of basic decency, something Eric's behavior often lacked now. The nurse returned with a cup and placed it on the side table. "Try to rest, Mrs. Green. Stress isn't good for either of you." I nodded. "Please call me Grace." "All right, Grace," she said softly before stepping out. Her kindness was a balm, a stark contrast to what I faced daily. Eric's dismissive attitude wasn't confined to stressful moments. A week ago during a family dinner, his mother, Cheryl, pierced into me with her icy gaze. "Grace, this casserole is too salty. And don't you think you should have a better grip on household chores by now?" Before I could respond, Eric added, "Mom's right, Grace. For someone staying at home, you should be more proficient with these things by now." I had smiled tightly, swallowing the retort burning at the back of my throat. "I'm doing the best I can, Cheryl." "Well, your best needs to improve," she shot back, her eyes never leaving mine. That night, as I cleaned the dishes alone, I asked Eric why he never defended me. "They're my parents, Grace. I can't just argue with them over simple things. You need to handle it better. Handle it better." His words rang in my ears as I drank the water, thinking about how far I'd fallen from that confident executive to someone who now questioned her every move. But in this sterile hospital room, something new was budding, a resolve. Dr. Collins's words about stress and the nurse's simple kindness reminded me of a life beyond Eric's control. There was a world where I could be strong again, not just for me but for my child. I knew what needed to be done. Becoming that strong, independent woman again wouldn't be easy, but this collapsing, bending, and breaking needed to end, for my baby and for myself. A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Dr. Collins, holding a clipboard. "Grace, can we talk?" she asked gently. I nodded, steeling myself. "Of course, Dr. Collins. What do I need to know?" "It's about balancing your health and any external stress," she began, and I knew this was just the start of a conversation about taking back control. Dark times lay ahead with Eric, but with each moment in that hospital, I found my determination strengthening. It wasn't just about staying healthy. It was about reclaiming my life, one day at a time. The sunlight streamed through the windows as I sat propped up in my hospital bed, sorting through the cascading thoughts in my mind. Just as I was about to sip some water, my phone buzzed. Cheryl's name popped on the screen, making my heart pound faster. "Grace, you've been in that hospital long enough. You need to come home and take care of your duties," she began without preamble. "I'm not just lying here out of choice," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to stay here for the baby's health." "Excuses," she scoffed. "You are a useless wife to my son, and it's high time you step up. We want dinner ready when Eric gets home." The line went dead, leaving me trembling with anger. I had just endured a terrifying health scare, yet all they could think about was dinner? Suddenly, the hospital door swung open, and Eric stormed in. "Grace, what's with you ignoring Mother's calls?" His face twisted with irritation. "I was resting," I said, gripping the bed rails for support. "The doctor said I need to avoid stress." "You're stressed. What about me, Grace? I'm the one working all day to support us." "You think I don't work?" I shot back, surprising myself with the sharpness of my tone. "I just expect." Eric began, but he stopped mid-sentence as Cheryl swept into the room, her face a mask of cold fury. "Really, Grace? Making excuses to avoid your responsibilities?" She turned to Eric. "Your father and I never had these issues. We raised you with discipline, not laziness." I clenched my fists. "I'm doing the best I can, Cheryl. I'm carrying your grandchild, remember?" Cheryl snorted. "Carrying a child is no excuse. Women have been doing it forever without causing such a scene." Eric looked at me, his eyes void of any sympathy. "Mom's right. You need to pull yourself together." This was the family dynamic I suffered through daily, unyielding and often merciless. But today it felt different. Something inside me shifted. These people, all their criticisms and commands, they no longer had the power they once wielded over me. "You're right. I do need to pull myself together," I said, my voice firm. "For myself and this baby. Because this situation," I gestured around the sterile room, "is not working." Eric and Cheryl both stared at me, stunned. "Grace, don't make things harder on yourself," Cheryl warned, her voice dripping with disdain. "Harder on myself?" I laughed bitterly. "I'm barely surviving this as it is." Cheryl turned to Eric. "See, this is what you get for marrying someone so weak." "That's enough, Cheryl." The words came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't care anymore. You've both said your piece. Now, leave me alone. Eric's eyes narrowed. Don't push it, Grace. I met his gaze and didn't flinch. Get out, Eric. I need rest, and you're not helping. They finally walked out, leaving me in the suffocating silence of the room. The door clicked shut, and for the first time, I exhaled a breath I didn't know I was holding. The realization washed over me. I couldn't continue like this. This wasn't living. I knew I needed an exit strategy. My mind flashed back to a happier time when I had friends and allies, people who cared. Maybe, just maybe, there was someone who could help pull me out from this abyss. It was time to reach out, to find the strength I'd buried for so long. The nurse shifted the curtains, letting in the morning light. I sat up, adjusting the pillows behind me. My body ached, but determination filled my veins. I needed a way out, and every second brought me closer to reaching out for help. The door cracked open. I expected another nurse, but in walked a blast from my past, Ally. Her hair was shorter now, and she looked more confident than ever, but those piercing blue eyes were unmistakable. Grace? She asked, her face a mixture of surprise and concern. I blinked, feeling a rush of emotions. Ally, what are you doing here? She came closer, grabbing a chair and sitting by the bedside. I was visiting a business associate, and I saw your name on the board. What happened? I took a deep breath. Well, it's a long story. Basically years of stress and, well, Eric. Her smile vanished. Eric? Your husband? Yes, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I've tried for so long to make it work, but it's been a nightmare. His emotional abuse, his family. I'm barely holding on. Ally leaned back in her chair, assessing me. That doesn't sound like the Grace I knew. The Grace I knew was a powerhouse. My eyes welled up with tears. I don't feel like a powerhouse anymore. Well, she said firmly, it's never too late to change that. How serious is your health? The baby's stable for now, I explained, but I need to avoid stress. And Eric's not making that easy, is he? She asked, already knowing the answer. No, he isn't. Ally nodded thoughtfully. Grace, what if I told you that you don't have to go back to that life? I can help you start over. Her words felt like a lifeline. What do you mean? I have an apartment downtown, Ally said. It's empty and you can stay there rent-free. It's a fresh start. My mind raced. Wouldn't it be too much trouble? Not at all, Ally assured me. You focus on your health and the baby. We can take it from there. The relief was overwhelming, but realistic worries clouded my mind. Eric would never let me go easily. What about Eric? Ally's face turned serious. We'll deal with him. For now, you need to get better. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts. I know someone who specializes in family law. He can help you with whatever you need to do next. Each word she spoke felt like another piece of armor being placed around me. For the first time in months, I felt something akin to hope. Why are you doing this for me, Ally? We've been through a lot, Grace, she replied. You've always been there for me. Now it's my turn to help you. And I can't stand seeing you like this. Her offer was more than just a place to stay. It was a chance to rebuild my life. Thank you, Ally. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll take care of yourself, she said, squeezing my hand. And if you need anything at all, you call me. The conversation with Ally left me with a renewed sense of purpose. As she left to make a few calls, I leaned back against the pillows. I couldn't change the past, but maybe, just maybe, I could shape a better future. I had much to think about, but one thing was clear. I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. I had Ally, and with her support, I might just find a way to reclaim my life and protect my baby. A few days after being discharged from the hospital, I found myself in Ally's downtown apartment. It was small but warm and cozy, a world apart from the cold, tension-filled atmosphere of my home with Eric. I settled into the couch, feeling a strange combination of relief and anxiety. Ally bustled around, unpacking groceries she had brought. You need to rest, Grace. Let me handle this. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you, I said sincerely. You'll do just fine, she replied with a reassuring smile. We need to talk, though, about the plan. The seriousness in her tone made my heart beat faster. What do we need to do? Ally handed me a slip of paper. This is the contact information for a great family lawyer I know. His name is Mark Jensen. He's got a reputation for handling messy divorces. I took the paper, feeling its weight. This was a significant step. When should I call him? Allie looked at me, her eyes fierce. The sooner, the better. Eric isn't going to let you go easily. You need legal protection. I nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. You're right. I'll call him tomorrow. The next day, as planned, I dialed the number on the paper. Mark's assistant answered, and soon I was connected to the lawyer himself. Grace, I've been briefed by Ally about your situation, Mark said, his voice calm and professional. I want you to know that you have options. I don't want a drawn-out fight, I stammered, fear creeping into my voice. Understandable, he replied, but we need to ensure you and your baby are safe. Document everything, every threat, every act of aggression. I shivered, the memories flooding back. Okay, I'll do that. We'll also file for a restraining order if necessary, Mark continued, and I'll guide you through the divorce process. You're not alone, Grace. After hanging up, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Days turned into weeks, and I slowly settled into a semblance of a new routine. Ally visited often, and her daughter Hannah dropped by with thoughtful gifts for the baby. One evening, I decided to open up to Hannah about Eric. Eric's not who you think he is, I began cautiously. Hannah frowned, her eyes narrowing. What do you mean? I took a deep breath. He's been emotionally abusive. His family, too. I can't live like that anymore. Hannah's face hardened. I work with him, you know. He's not exactly kind there either, but I never knew it was this bad. I nodded, feeling a bond forming. I'm glad you know now. Hannah's eyes flashed with determination. I can keep an eye on him, let you know if he's planning anything. Thank you. That would mean a lot, I said, feeling a surge of gratitude. Over time, Hannah's updates about Eric became a crucial part of my strategy. She reported his growing frustration at work, his dismissive attitude towards colleagues, and the whispers of a possible demotion due to his behavior. Each piece of information was another brick in the wall I was building to protect myself. One afternoon, I received a call from Mark. Grace, I filed the initial divorce papers. Eric will be served soon. Be prepared for his reaction. My heart pounded. What should I expect? He'll likely be angry, but remember, you're doing this for your safety and your baby's future. Stay strong, Mark counseled. Ally arrived shortly after, sitting beside me on the couch. Whatever happens next, you have support. We're in this together. I squeezed her hand, feeling the truth in her words. The battle was far from over, but I was no longer the same scared woman in the hospital. I was stronger now, surrounded by people who believed in me. As I held my growing belly, I whispered, We're going to be okay. We have to be. In that moment, I knew I had already made the most pivotal move towards reclaiming my life. The road ahead was daunting, but I was ready to face it, step by cautious step, surrounded by newfound allies and an unyielding resolve. I was at my weekly checkup at the hospital, waiting for Dr. Collins when the door burst open. Eric stormed in, his eyes wild and angry. He hadn't made contact since the divorce papers were served. I had hoped he'd stay away, but deep down I knew better. What the hell do you think you're doing, Grace? He barked, marching up to the examination chair, his face inches from mine. You think you can just walk out and take my child with you? My heart pounded in my chest. Eric, please, calm down. This is a hospital. Calm down? He shouted, his voice echoing in the small room. You're trying to ruin my life. Before I could respond, Dr. Collins entered, eyes wide. Excuse me, sir. You can't barge in here like this. Eric turned on her, finger pointing. This is between me and my wife. I stood up, facing him. No, Eric, it's about me and my baby, and you need to leave. His eyes narrowed, his face contorting with rage. You think you can do this? You think you can just leave me and everything will be fine? Suddenly, the door swung open again. Hannah stepped in, glaring at Eric. Back off, Eric. What the hell are you doing here? Eric spat, his anger shifting to her. Hannah crossed her arms, protecting Grace. If you don't leave right now, I'll call the police. Eric's face turned red with fury. You're just as deluded as she is. This was a mistake from the start. Eric, get out, I said, my voice quivering but firm. I've hired a lawyer. We're getting a divorce. He looked at me, stunned for a moment, then laughed bitterly. You'll come crawling back once this fantasy of yours crumbles. Hannah stepped closer to Eric, her voice dangerously low. Get out, now! Eric finally seemed to grasp the seriousness of the situation. He glanced between us, his teeth clenched in anger. You'll regret this, Grace. As he stormed out, Slamming the door behind him, I sank back into the chair, shaking. Hannah sat beside me, placing a comforting hand on my arm. "You did the right thing, Grace." Dr. Collins nodded, her face a mask of concern. "Do you want me to call security? Make sure he doesn't come back?" I shook my head, trying to steady my breath. "No, it's okay. He's gone for now." Hannah looked at me, her eyes soft with sympathy. "Are you all right?" I managed a nod. "I think so. Thank you, Hannah." "We're in this together, remember?" she said, squeezing my hand. Dr. Collins finished the checkup, assuring me that the baby was fine. But the encounter with Eric left a lingering tension in the air. As Hannah and I left the hospital, she turned to me. "Now's the time to stand firm. Don't let him intimidate you." "I know," I said, my voice more confident than I felt. "I can't go back. Not now." Hannah smiled, a fierce glint in her eyes. "And you won't. We'll make sure of it." As we got into the car, a new determination settled over me. Eric's reaction didn't surprise me, but it did remind me of just how far I'd come and how much farther I still had to go. The road ahead was uncertain, but I wasn't walking it alone. With Hannah, Ally, and the support of my new allies, I felt a flicker of hope. The fight for my freedom had only just begun, but with every step, I grew stronger, more resolved. I was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that this time, I had the strength and support to stand my ground. It had been a week since Eric's outburst at the hospital, and I had finally started to feel a semblance of peace in Ally's apartment. My morning was quiet until my phone buzzed with a call from Allie. "Grace, turn on the local news," she said, her voice urgent. I fumbled for the remote, switching on the TV just in time to see Eric's face plastered on the screen. Local businessman Eric Green faces allegations of workplace harassment and creating a hostile environment. Reliable sources indicate a demotion is imminent, the reporter explained. My heart raced. I could hardly believe what I was hearing, but a sense of vindication washed over me. Ally's voice interrupted my thoughts. "You see that? He's getting what he deserves." "How did this happen?" I asked, still in shock. "Hannah, she gathered evidence, reported it. She knew the right people to make sure it didn't get swept under the rug," Ally explained. Just as I hung up, Hannah walked through the door, a look of triumph on her face. "Saw the news?" "I did. I don't know how to thank you," I said, voice thick with emotion. "Don't thank me yet. Eric's not going down without a fight," Hannah replied, her face turning serious. We sat on the couch, the TV now muted. "I've arranged for extra security at your building. Until the restraining order is finalized, we can't be too careful," she said. The thought of Eric trying to retaliate sent shivers down my spine. "Do you really think he'll try something?" Hannah nodded. "I wouldn't put it past him. But you're not alone. We've got your back." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation, but also the strength of my support system. I'm ready for whatever comes. Hannah's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it, frowning. "It's him. He's been calling, leaving threats." I grabbed her wrist. "What kind of threats?" She looked at me, eyes filled with concern. "Saying he'll make sure you regret leaving him. He's desperate, Grace." I closed my eyes, anger replacing my fear. "Let him try. I'm done being scared of him." The next few days were tense. Everywhere I went, I felt the shadow of Eric lurking, but I refused to let it control me. Ally and Hannah were relentless in their support, staying close and checking in frequently. One evening, Mark called, his tone somber. "Grace, we need to talk. Eric's lawyer reached out. He's going to fight the divorce hard, especially for custody." Of course he would. What do? We prepare, gather all evidence of his abuse, his threats. We build your case solid, Mark advised. I nodded, the determination in his voice bolstering my resolve. I'll do whatever it takes. Weeks turned into a blur of preparations and cautious living. Eric's demotion became official, and rumors swirled about his troubles at the workplace. Hannah's intel kept me informed, making sure I stayed a step ahead. Finally, the day came for the divorce hearing. Standing outside the courtroom, my heart pounded. Ally held my hand, her presence a steadying force. "You've got this, Grace. Show them the strong woman you are," she whispered. As we walked into the courtroom, Eric's glare bore into me. He looked disheveled, his arrogant demeanor now marred by desperation. I stood tall, ready to face him. The proceedings were arduous, but Mark was relentless, presenting every piece of evidence we had meticulously collected. Eric's lawyer tried to paint me as unstable and unfit, but the truth was undeniable. At the end of it all, the judge ruled in my favor. Eric's abusive behavior, his threats, the hostile work environment, all weighed too heavily against him. As I walked out, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Eric's defeat was a victory not just for me, but for my unborn child. I had fought, and I had won. But most importantly, I had reclaimed my life, ready to start anew. The day I left the courthouse felt surreal. The fight was over, and I had won. And yet the future felt like an unknown expanse, stretching out before me. I returned to Ally's apartment, my temporary sanctuary, feeling both relieved and uncertain. A few weeks later, I was sitting in Ally's office, now officially part of her team. I was grateful for the job and the chance to rebuild my life. It felt good to use my skills again and to be surrounded by supportive faces. Ally walked in, holding a tiny blue onesie. "For the little guy," she said, handing it to me. I smiled, running my fingers over the soft fabric. "Thank you, Ally. You've done so much for us. Your family, Grace. And speaking of family," she hesitated, then continued, "I want you to meet someone." She led me to a conference room where a man in his mid-40s sat. He smiled warmly as we entered. "Grace, this is John. John, this is Grace." John stood up, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you, Grace. Ally's told me a lot about you." "Nice to meet you too," I said, shaking his hand, feeling a bit curious. "John is a therapist," Ally explained. "I thought it might help to talk." I nodded, feeling a bit overwhelmed but understanding her intention. "Thanks, Ally. I'll consider it." As I walked back to my apartment that evening, I felt a mixture of gratitude and doubt. Could I really put all this behind me? Months passed, and my life began to stabilize. I worked hard, focusing on my pregnancy and my new job. Hannah stayed close, her friendship becoming a beacon of light in my chaotic world. One afternoon, Ally called me into her office. "Grace, I have an offer for you." "What is it?" I asked, curious. She handed me a folder, an opportunity to lead a new project, something I think you'll excel in. I opened the folder and scanned the details. It was a challenging project, but also a chance to prove myself once more. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Ally smiled. "You deserve this." "All right," I said, feeling a surge of excitement. "Yes." As I left her office, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Hannah. "Can you meet me at the park? I have news." I hurried over, finding her sitting on a bench, looking excited. "What's up?" She grinned. "Eric got fired today. They finally had enough of his behavior." A flood of emotions swirled inside me, but mostly relief. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Hannah laughed. "Just breathe, Grace. Karma's doing its job." We spent the rest of the afternoon talking and laughing, a sense of closure settling over me. That night, as I lay in bed, feeling my baby's kicks, I finally felt at peace. Eric was out of my life, and a new chapter was beginning. I whispered, "We're going to be okay, little one." The months rolled by, and soon it was time. I went into labor late one night, and Ally rushed me to the hospital. The delivery was intense, but the moment I held my son in my arms, everything else faded away. "You did it," Ally whispered, tears in her eyes. "No, we did it," I corrected, feeling the weight of our journey. As I cradled my son, I realized that the darkest moments of my life had led me to this point. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving, surrounded by people who loved and believed in me. In the following days, I took up Ally on her suggestion to meet John for therapy. It helped me to process everything I'd been through and to rebuild my confidence. When I returned to work, Ally officially offered me the role of project lead. I accepted, feeling ready to take on the world. And so, surrounded by a new family of friends and allies, I stepped into my new life with determination and a hopeful heart. My son and I were ready for whatever came next, knowing we had already overcome the hardest battles. We were ready to face the future together.